So we're gonna start the podcast.
It already started. Welcome, guys, to the first, uh, I guess you could say duo, no guest episode, starring the
Solo,
well, I was gonna say solo, but there's two of us.
duo, solo.
Duo
Yeah, then nothing.
solo.
No. Isn't that one singer?
Yeah. At the moment, we just have. Well, I mean, we have me, your lovely host, tFay, and we apparently have what? If you're watching this live or on YouTube, apparently you have the big jerk who loves Zelda Game and Watch.
Okay, look.
That gets no context. All right,
Yeah.
fine. I'll take away the big jerk part.
Okay, that's the part that actually that's the part that met. I'm not. I could still come around to the Game and Watch. Let's see what the price tag on it is, because to me it shouldn't go over $30, and I bet it's gonna be closer to like
I think the
$79.99.
Minecraft, the not the Minecraft, the Mario one was $50, wasn't it?
They made a Mario Game and Watch.
Yeah, like a while ago. And there were people who
Yeah,
said you should make a Zelda one of it.
but why?
They like
I'm so
collecting
confused by this.
things. They're the
But
people who don't take it
do
out
they
of the
care about the game
box.
or the collecting something?
They do
Is
not
it
take
just
it out of the box, so I'm assuming they care about the collecting. They want.
that's what's dumb? You just want more Nintendo merch. It doesn't make any sense to make a Game and Watch out of Zelda, especially the first two Zeldas. No one likes them. Not really. If they really liked them, they would put them
Okay,
on
okay.
cell phone.
So let's take this. I'm gonna jump on this opportunity. All right, very first Zelda. All right,
Yeah.
let's do a breakdown on why all our Zelda fans are suddenly gonna stop watching the podcast after
Okay.
today. Oh,
Go
okay.
ahead. It sounded
No,
like
no,
you
no.
were going
So
somewhere with this.
basic. So like when this game was designed, all right, the game was designed such that they wanted to give the original right. Who made Zelda?
Miyamoto and Tezuka.
Okay, so Miyamoto, I think it was, has said before, for anyone who doesn't follow, Nintendo lore, said that he wanted to make a game that would recreate his childhood adventures of spelunking and looking through caves, basically, like adventuring, as it were, going out into the unknown. They want to recreate that in a game, which you could argue he did a great job, as in you literally don't know anything when you go into this game, or basically at any point throughout the entire thing. And basically, it apparently was really popular, but I think it's just absolute shit. But
The first two, I guess I just stated what I think of them. I'm glad they're made. I
well, all
wouldn't
right.
say they're
So we
pieces
all
of trash.
know. Well, we all could all guess
Yeah.
why I don't like them, because I've said I hate exploring and I want my handheld like every episode for the past 3 episodes now. But like, why do you, as someone who likes, you obviously like exploring, you play Breath of the Wild. Why
Yeah.
do
Okay.
you
So
hate
see,
these games?
yeah, but here's an example of game design that helps lead you in the right direction. Do you know how you find all the secrets in Legend of Zelda? You just run around blowing up everything and hope you find something. That's not how a good game works. No, like that's not how Breath of the Wild works. There, I have when I started playing Breath of the Wild, not once did I ever begin to wonder, what do I need to do? There was always something else to do. Whereas, like Legend of Zelda, when I tried to play it on stream, it just felt like I'm running in circles on this ugly map, not knowing what to do.
Wait, hold up,
That's
hold
what
up,
I
hold up.
hated. I kept getting killed.
So,
Go ahead.
what? Wait, we're talking about. All right. First of all, I can't believe I'm gonna be weirdly defending this game. All right, your argument. What do you mean you didn't never know what to not know what to do in Breath of the Wild?
Because
Like,
like it literally tells you, go to the towers. Go to the towers. Raise them. Use your thing to look around. Go to the shrines. Unlock them. On the way, you're going to run into villages. You're going to run into people. I know what to do. But you go to Legend of Zelda, and it literally drops you in the beginning of the game and doesn't tell you anything. It doesn't tell you what buttons to push, what to do. You're just supposed to like mess around with it until you luckily find a dungeon. And that's so boring to me. Because at least, even if Breath of the Wild functioned in the same way, at least we're talking about a beautiful animated 3D world to explore, not pixels.
Okay,
Which I
so
love old
basically what I'm
games.
hearing, see, I'm consistent. All right, my issues with the original Legend of Zelda are the same issues I have with Breath of the Wild. You seem to be nitpicking because Breath of the Wild's pretty.
I'm saying no. I said even if Breath of the Wild functioned like the original Legend of Zelda, at least it would be better because it's pretty. No, Breath of the Wild does not function like the original Zelda game. It tells you what to do. I'm so like you can open up a map. You have the slate, right? Open it up, go to your missions. What's your mission? Go to
Okay, no.
Kakariku
First of all,
Kakakuku
it gives you
village.
vague instructions of what to do. All right, Skyrim tells you what to do. All right, Breath,
Skyrim
Breath,
also tells you
Breath,
what to do.
but there's a vast difference. All right, so there's like if you had to like put it into tiers. All right, where tier one is gives you nothing. We could call that Legend of Zelda, the original Legend of Zelda.
Yeah,
All right,
LOZ. Let's go.
LOZ. All right, so then we have tier 10, which is Skyrim, which is literally could not be more handholdy outside of it literally teleports you to the place you need to go when you push a button. That's about the only way, which you technically can choose to do that anyway, fast travel. But that's about the only, like, that's the epitome of handholding, right? Now, Breath of the Wild, I put at like a solid 5. It's like smack in the middle. It like says, all right, we need you to find this person. And it's like, but we're not actually going to tell you explicitly where to find them. We'll give you like a general area, or if you're doing like the bird shrine quest, whatever, we're going to give you weird, vague clues that tFay's probably going to ignore because he's bored of it. But, you know, like I would not say that they tell you what to do.
They definitely don't tell you what to do in the original game. Maybe in the manual, and maybe that's what's missing. I don't have the original manual for
This is
Legend of
also
Zelda.
fair. This is also
I
fair.
think maybe that's what's maybe the manual does give you a little bit of info. But I'm telling you, when I loaded up Legend of Zelda and I spent like 2 hours playing it, the only time I ever made any progress into any of the dungeons that everyone likes to talk about are so great was when I had chat literally tell me, go to this pixel, drop the bomb, and run away. Like that's what I spent doing. I start the game, don't know what to do, run outside, encounter an enemy, die. All right, okay, I got to kill the enemy, right? So you kill the enemy, right? You go to the next map, you
Oh,
come back, the enemy's back.
yeah,
Son of, wait, what?
so I'm literally I just googled this. I never actually thought about this before. So
Yeah.
not only does the original NES like come with a manual, it comes with a literal map of the entire overworld, and with all the enemies in the game, the enemies' names, tips for beating the enemies, all the items in the games, telling you what things you can do. It literally says use a bomb to blow up a rock. Who knows what you? It literally
Yeah.
tells you everything.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
basically, this
See, there
game's
we go.
problem is, and this is an actually interesting area that we can go into. Should games have instructions in the game or in the manual?
No, see that bit right there. That's the problem. They designed the game and they probably had people playtest it and they didn't know what to do. They're just like,
No, no,
where
no.
do I go? What do I
But
do?
that's like
And so
saying
they had to make a manual.
no. That's a terrible logic, all right? Because current games have the tutorials in the game because they don't want to give you manuals. You can't.
Yeah, but you built exactly. The game
But they
tells you
chose.
what to do.
Yes, but but
That's
when they
part of the
designed
game.
Zelda, they chose to have the instructions in a manual. It wasn't our
Yeah,
game
yeah,
is
yeah.
confusing, so let's give them a manual. All games
Yeah,
came
no,
with
that's
manuals.
exactly how it was. It was confusing. People didn't know what to do, so
Every
they
game
had to go
came with a
back to the
manual.
notebook and make it into a manual.
Every game came with a manual.
All games come with a manual, but not a manual like the one you're describing. Mario doesn't. Mario doesn't need to, because Mario was
Mario's
a
not an
well-designed game.
exploration game. It's a platformer.
But we're getting into game design and what helps the game player progress into further into the game. Mario, you don't need it. It's very simple. I've talked about
It's
this
a
before.
platformer.
When you
That's
start
different
World
than
1-1,
genres.
when
No,
you
no, no, no.
start
Hold
World
up.
1-1, you have a Goomba coming towards you. You either die or you learn to jump over it.
Okay.
And once you jump over it,
First
you
of
move
all,
right.
all right. First of all, this logically, you can't. All right. Are you telling me that you don't like manuals? This is coming from the guy who wants their physical copies of games, Mister Go to. If you're not willing to go at 11 p.m. at line up at GameStop all night, the game sucks. You're telling me this same guy doesn't want manuals in your physical copies?
I also didn't say I don't want manuals. I'm just saying you shouldn't need the manual to the extent that Legend of Zelda requires it. I can get
Okay.
past most games without the manual.
What about like RTSs? Or like complex
Real-time strategy.
RPGs?
I will be honest, I don't have much experience with RTSs. The only one
Okay,
I
so games
played
like
was Civilization
so like
back when I was like
so
8.
RT Civilization is not an RTS, but same point. Civilization is a game that requires knowledge and explanation, and honestly, they do a very shitty job of explaining how to play the game in game because it really makes a lot more sense if you know, I don't know, had a book you could read in like a manual esque
And
thing.
somehow 8-year-old me didn't need a manual to play Civilization. Almost 30-year-old me couldn't get into Legend of Zelda. But
Okay,
30-year-old
when you
me could
say
get into Breath of the
8-year-old me
Wild.
could play, all right. When you say you could play Civ, is that you just hit buttons and you were able to progress in the game? Because I don't know if that's playing Civ. That's like saying I played StarCraft and I'm able to, make Zerglings. Great, I know how to play
But like
StarCraft.
Civilization had a straightforward like
Bull,
UI. I would say
bullshit,
Breath
straightforward UI. What? What? No, 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 no. You are not gonna tell. I
now
will
tFay
pull
is
up
breaking
a
his mic.
civilization on screen. I will pull up the UI for Civ. I will pull it up on screen, even though audio listeners can't hear us. And you explain to me how this UI is intuitive.
I'm just saying, 8-year-old me must have been smarter than 30-year. Actually, you know what? I should go. I'll load up Civilization sometime, and I'll try and play it and
All right,
see
which
if I can't.
civilization did you play as an 8-year-old? All right,
I
we're
think I
gonna.
played the second one.
All right, we're gonna go with Civilization 2.
I think it was Civilization 2. It was 2 or 3 because the first one came out like in 1990, 91, somewhere in there. The second one came out in the mid
Is this
90s.
Civilization 2? Here's a mine and no, this is a mod. I can't even find pictures of Civilization 2.
We're showing our age a bit.
It's literally everything on Google's a bloody mod.
Okay, yeah. The second one came out, like I said, mid 90s. It could have been it's 2 or 3. I don't know for sure, to be honest, because it wasn't my computer. It was my cousin's computer. But we could go into all these old games that aren't confusing to play. Doom, not that hard to figure out. Like there's
Okay? Can
so
you give me
many.
a game that actually requires strategy and complex mechanics and not jump, jump, pew, pew, pew?
My point is that you did. Whoa, Zelda doesn't require complex strategies. It
I'm
requires
not
you to run
saying.
around bombing every little cliff that you
No,
come
no, no. I'm
across.
I'm not even mad about the. All right, we can put. I'll even give you Zelda. Freaking Dojin card. Yes, this is canon now. All right. I don't
Okay,
freaking care about Zelda. I care about you dissing. You saying that game, like you dissing manuals. All right. You're dissing manuals. All
I
right. So here's a game that this is not Civ, by the way, but this is a game I played as a kid. It's called Lords of Magic, and it has a manual that's literally 2 inches thick. You're telling me, and I'm gonna pull this on the, if you're only listening to this on Spotify, I'm sorry you can't see this. But Noctis, you're telling me you can explain to me this UI?
Actually, okay. Wave your mouse around on it a little bit. Click on the caves. Do you go into the caves? I don't know. You probably send it like my. I have obviously some experience with Civilization, but I'm guessing these guys that I see up here chilling out on the lava, they're probably bad guys. They don't look like your guys. Actually, wait. Let me compare them to down here. Down here in the little at the bottom, they don't look like the same guys. I'm guessing those guys are bad guys up there. So I'm guessing your guys are in this little camp down here at the bottom. I'm how much I don't know if I'm
See,
right.
no, you are 100% right, and that's exactly what tiny version of me did, and he was playing through the game until all of my units just magically disappeared. Because you know what?
Okay.
This game apparently has like a bunch of different upkeep mechanics that I didn't know about because it's all explained in the bloody manual.
But yeah, no, so you can't figure out why you died. You didn't load the game up again and try something different.
No, it's
See if
you
that
don't
happened.
die.
Okay.
It's when your turn starts. If you don't have the right amount of upkeep to meet your current units, which they let you buy as many as you want without any sense of if you could pay for them one turn later, they disappear. They don't die. They literally just disappear from the map.
Yeah, I'm just saying I would start it back up. Oh, see what happened. I'd probably
You can
click on
see the
my
same thing
guy.
They don't tell you that you don't have the upkeep because you're supposed to know this from the 1.5-inch manual.
No, but okay. So you're saying that like let's say I'm guessing your little amount of uh supplies down here in the bottom right corner. Using that, do you see those go down to 0 and then you die?
You don't die. You still keep playing. I'm saying units will
Okay,
disappear.
before your guys disappear, do you see that those go down to 0?
Yeah, probably.
Okay, then it sounds like you need to get more supplies.
No, but how would you know that's why your characters are
I
disappearing?
I literally just told you. Like
If you go down
if
to
your
just because
characters are
it goes down,
disappearing, it's going to show you something. A good game will show you on screen. You're not okay. Let's
no.
say
So
your
I'm
screen
saying,
was that, and they disappeared out of nowhere. Then yeah, it sounds kind of BS. But we're seeing an interface change to show something happening. Your
no.
supplies are
So my
going
thing
down to
is,
0
but
as they
they don't
disappear.
tell you in the game, so you're okay with visual prompts as an
Yes, to
explanation
me
for things.
that's part
So,
of
but
that's
that's what
part of
they
the
do in the
game.
original Legend of Zelda.
No, they don't. They don't tell you to blow up stuff to get into caves.
Yes,
How
you do.
on
If you
earth am I supposed to
you
know that?
go walk around and talk to people, and they literally tell you to blow stuff up using bombs.
No, they don't.
Yes, they do.
I played the game. No one said blow up stuff.
Really? Really? All right, bet. Go again. Go again. All right. Go play the game again, or have someone else play the game while we're talking. All right, you explore enough. You're gonna tell me in the entire original Legend of Zelda, there's not a single character that tells you to blow up walls with bombs?
So wait, you don't know for sure? You just took that shot in the dark and guessed
No,
someone
I'm
told you to
pretty sure
do it?
I remember seeing that, but you're telling me otherwise. So I'm asking if you just think of this logistically. That doesn't even make sense that you would have the entire game of Zelda where they don't tell you to blow stuff up with bombs.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
They
Hence why
literally
I
tell
say
you in the
Legend of Zelda
first
sucks.
Oh my gosh. Manuals are important because it can tell you stuff that's not in the game. Keep in mind, I 100% hate that all tutorials are now in game and that manuals are basically non existent. But that's
Yeah.
why you buy digitals now. Why do you even need the manuals?
Yeah,
There's
it's
no
because
manuals.
most games nowadays don't need a manual. They include a tutorial to show you how to play the game. Or they're designed good enough, like Breath of the Wild, that you don't need a freaking tutorial or a manual on how to play.
Bullshit! Breath of the Wild. What? Breath of the Wild literally tells you, hey, press A. Press A to open me. I'm the Sheikah Slate. Press A, Zelda. Press A, Link. I don't even know what these characters' names are anymore. What do do you mean Breath of the Wild doesn't teach you anything? They teach you so many things.
So it sounds like a pretty good game that teaches you how to play it. You know what? Sounds like a pretty good game to
I'm
me.
saying that a lot of games, I actually would prefer a physical manual and not to have their long tutorials. What is the biggest complaint people have about Pokemon? All right, legitimately, what is the number one complaint
The
about
catching mechanics, the RNG. Let's get into that.
Freaking tutorials. Nobody wants Pokemon tutorials to the point where in Sword and Shield, where they literally removed part of the tutorial, it was the act of God in the community because people want optional tutorials. What's the way of having optional tutorials? Make a bloody manual and not have it as in the game, so you can choose how much you read.
The only time I ever hit up is when I was trying to complete Breath of the Wild, which I would like to state that's not the same thing as beating or playing the game. I did look up some shrine locations on where they were because everything I had tried wasn't working, which I don't think is that uncommon. But the majority of the shrines, we're talking out of 120 of them, easily the majority of them I had no problem accessing and beating.
Okay, first of all, whether or not you are able to beat a shrine, okay, that's on you. That's a personal thing. Not everyone is as good at beating shrines. So don't flex on the viewers by saying I'm no problem flexing with these shrines.
I'm using that as an example. I imagine most people are the same way, where you can just play the game and get further along in it. How long do I have to play Legend of Zelda?
What about the people who play Breath of the Wild and aren't able to do the shrines? Are they just idiots?
Get good, scrubs, you know?
Oh my, I honestly, like, that is like the worst mentality for games. Oh my gosh. Don't let our viewers think that get good scrubs is a thing.
Well, I mean, there are some games where you literally just have to be better at it.
We have 5-year-olds
but like first-person shooter multiplayer, first-person shooter multiplayer, you just have to be better. Unfortunately, I agree. I'm not good at them. That's why I don't play them. But so that I want to get good scrub. That was a joke, guys.
Can confirm. Do I have to bring back the Noctis is a joke? Give me this back real quick. Nope, not that one. All right, here. All right, cool. All right, we're gonna go a few seconds as a big joke just to emphasize this. I gotta have this like on hotkey. I swear.
Didn't I before the podcast? I do believe I did say I spit fire and speak the truth. You may not want me to just rant. This is why we prepare questions. This is why we try and have an idea what we're going to talk about. Because
bullshit. We know that people live for the arguments and the rants. I'm just saying, I don't care if you want to rant and I don't care if you want to disagree with me. Don't insult the viewers. We have poor little Timmy listening to this podcast with his mommy, so excited about Breath of the Wild 2, and he was just told to get good because he was only able to beat 10 shrines. Now he's crying.
Then what else? What else do you do in Breath of the Wild if you can't beat the shrine? If you can't beat more than 10 shrines, you're not beating any of the beasts. Now we're getting into should games have an easy mode?
Oh, should games have an easy mode? Or actually, yeah, no, this is an argument I'm all for.
That seems like because that to me is feeling what we're segueing for.
Okay. So this is the segue. All right. Yeah. Should games have an easy mode? So I think this is going to be very dependent on genre. Because if you're gonna say something like StarCraft, League of Legends, things that require things like active multiplayer, it's a multiplayer game. You're not gonna have an easy mode. And if you're gonna say have an easy mode for the single player, it's a single player. No one gives a shit. So what kind of game are we specifically saying easy mode for?
I think the most common games that people bring up when they talk about this is probably the Dark Souls games and games like Sekiro.
Oh,
where 100%. It can be too hard for people.
No, I love the Dark Souls games. All right, I played them all, some multiple times. I will go to the ends of the earth and say 100% should have an easy mode.
I think most games. I think it depends on what the developer is intending for the audience to experience. So for me, look at a game like Getting Over It with Bennett Foddy. The entire game is built around the of how you play. An easy mode for that game doesn't make sense because it's literally just getting to the top. If you get to
No,
the
no, no.
top
Betty
via
Foddy
like
is
moon
not a good
jumping, then what's
example.
the point?
Betty the Foddy is not a good example because its difficulty is in the controls and the game mechanic itself, not a skill
No,
thing.
okay. It's around learning a new game mechanic.
Sure,
That's
but my
that's it.
argument, all right,
You
but for
just learn a
Dark
new
Souls
game
specific,
mechanic.
but see,
But
for Dark Souls
no,
specific,
that is my
no, no,
point.
no,
If
no, no, for
you
Dark
have to
Souls
learn a new game
specifically,
mechanic.
for Dark Souls
Okay.
specifically, all right, let's not focus on the small game that's literally the entire game is one game mechanic, all right, because that makes it
Yeah,
really
but
hard to make it easy. How would you even make an
that
easy
was
mode
my
for
point.
Bennett Foddy?
Oh,
How would you make an
that
easy mode for
exactly.
Bennett Foddy?
You
But you
couldn't. That's my
can make an
point.
easy mode for things like Dark Souls.
I know. That's why I said I led with. It
Well,
depends on what
let
the
me add.
game developer is trying to get you to experience. If
Yes,
they
but
want
I
you to
already
experience a
want.
story,
Okay,
then
but in
you should have
Dark
an easy mode.
Souls, this is like the most common. But that's what everyone says about Dark Souls because they're like they want you to experience dying over and over again until you're able to overcome that and get good. That's
Yeah.
what the developer intended. But at the same time, that's on the implication that people are actually going to try. If you're, you
Yeah.
know, but
I would,
what if
but
what if you're
is Dark Souls a good story?
I
I
don't
couldn't tell
know.
you.
It's not even about this. It's let's say, all right, hypothetical. Let's say there's an easy mode for Dark Souls, right?
Okay.
And you go through it on easy mode, and you go, okay, now that I was able to beat on easy mode, and I have a general understanding of the mechanics, then let me try it on normal and or hard mode. So you are
No.
effectively able to practice at a lower level without just dying over and over again and getting discouraged.
No. See, if okay, let's say a very story heavy game, like, but still has complicated gameplay. That's what we're looking for. Like Sekiro, right? Would you agree it's a very story heavy game?
No.
Okay, I'm looking for a story heavy game. Like Skyrim, for example. Or I'm trying to
Okay,
think about
I know you're really trying, but you're coming up with terrible examples here. Your
My
example of
point is,
story-heavy, complicated game mechanics of Skyrim.
listen. My point here is that if they want you to experience a story, then put in an easy mode.
I need to laugh at that for a minute.
All right. Are you good?
The game where you don't even have to fight anybody for half the game.
I haven't played Skyrim, so I'm
You
this is a bad
literally can
example.
beat over half the game without without swinging on single attack at people. There's people who do speedruns. It's glitchless speedruns. You just walk past enemies.
All right, fine. Let's change it. I asked you for examples for just this reason. I'm trying to come up with one. They want you to experience a good story, then it sounds like it should have an easy mode. If the gameplay is meant to be challenging and that's what you're meant to experience, then it shouldn't have an easy mode. Dark Souls is all about the challenge of beating these hard bosses when you're made of paper. Like that's what's interesting about it.
Why do they not have any kind of way for people to practice and train that doesn't involve dying over and over again?
Because I've played the first like 5 minutes of Dark Souls 1. I died quite a bit. Like just trying to get to enemy. I would come across an enemy and I would be dumb and I would say, I'm gonna beat him. And I would die. I'm gonna beat him. And we're talking very basic enemies, because I'm not very good at Dark Souls. But
Okay,
I never said I want this to be easier. I
but
know
many
what I'm
people
going
do, and
into
they
when playing
don't
a
get
Dark
to.
Souls game.
But they don't get to play Dark. People don't get to experience Dark Souls because they're not as good because they can't handle the skill cap.
So wait, should we make movies shorter? Titanic, I'm sorry, it's just too long. I can't watch that long. Can you sum it
How
up
is
in
that?
like 20 minutes for me? Oh,
That
War
is
and Peace
not.
is really good,
That
but could
is
you make it
not the
easier for
same
me?
argument as adding an easy mode to a game. What? That is not
It
remotely the
is.
Same argument.
You're
Difficulty
cheapening
in a
the
game.
experience.
making doing an easy, by that logic, no game should have an easy mode. Every game should have exactly one set
I
difficulty.
No, it should be based on what the developer wants you to experience. That's my argument. We should have tutorials and movies. I like the idea.
Oh my gosh.
Oh God.
Stu- why do you not, what's wrong with having the option for people to have an easier time to experiencing it? Because if your intent is for you buy it, ignore, all right, again, separate time, ignoring the fact that game companies just want your money more than anything else. Let's put that argument aside for a second. When you're designing a game, your biggest desire should be to have someone actually experience the game. If you make it Sekiro, I want people to overcome the difficulty of Sekiro. You know how many people stopped playing Sekiro because of the difficulty? So then people just aren't experiencing the game. Is that what you want? Do you want to say,
Yeah,
I only
then
try
if
to
you want
find the
if you
1%
can't
insane people who can beat this?
if you can't beat Sekiro, like then watch it on YouTube. Like I can't beat
What?
Sekiro, it's why I've never attempted it.
But
Because
you
I'm not
shouldn't.
good. I'm not good at these games.
But you shouldn't. You should give people the option, all right, of being able to.
Then what are
play
they
the game.
experiencing? If you take away the challenge out of Dark Souls, what are you left with?
Challenge is relative. I'm not saying take away the challenge. I'm taking a percentage of it. You can just even have a damage scaler. Just say like, you take a bit less damage when you're doing it, or hell, even put in a training mode in the game, like where you say, all right, here's an enemy. Here's just like a training area. All right, here's an enemy. And then they.
You don't need it. You don't need a training
practice.
area or a tutorial. You just need a manual. Remember?
That would
There
be
you go.
great
Read your
too.
Dark Souls manual and get good.
No, Dark Souls.
It tells you how to win.
The problem with Dark Souls isn't lack of information. It's like, if you've had a training area for people who learned how to parry, I bet a lot more people would be parrying.
No, I'm just saying, you take the challenge out of Dark Souls, you make it easier, then what's the point? I think that's why it needs to be hard, because From Software
you want to play
don't
the
make
game
very
and find
story-driven
cool
games.
bosses and explore cool areas and make up lore with the rest of the internet.
Yeah, you make up lore. There's nothing to Dark Souls except the gameplay, it sounds like.
No, there's tons of lore. There's an actual story. They just don't hand feed it to you unless you want to go that as another tangent. Should stories be fed to you?
If you're arguing for an easier mode, to me, you're arguing for the story to be fed to you.
No, it's they want to beat the game. Some people want to be able to say they beat a game. They want to.
Then
get
it doesn't
to the
mean
end of
as
the
much.
game.
You beat if they made Dark Souls easier for other people, then it wouldn't mean as much.
Mean as
If
much
I
to who? What do
so
if you
the
say
other players that beat the game on its actual mode. If you beat getting over it with frickin' moon bounce, it doesn't mean as much to the people that learned how to beat the game properly.
That's like me saying Twitch shouldn't give new streamers instant upload easier because I had to earn it. I had to go through the difficulty of streaming 10 bajillion days.
I'm pretty sure that was your reaction. That was your every time we hear someone talk about their emote and they have to wait like a week. You go all old man tFay and say, back in my day, I had to wait
but
weeks.
I also, if you listen to my full sentence every one of those times, I always say, I'm glad they're doing it. It just annoys me.
Exactly.
It doesn't. I want people. Fully believe in giving accessibility to people.
Right. So it doesn't mean as much. It like any of the games that I've beat that on their modes, I've never there should be an easier mode than this. I can't think of a game that was too hard and I said it should be easier.
But then you just don't play the game. How is it?
That's okay. Then I don't play a game. The game isn't for me. You want to make every game accessible to every gamer?
Why not?
Because that's ridiculous.
Why?
You're changing. You're changing the format of games like Dark Souls. When you take the challenge out of them and make
You're
them
not
easier for a
taking the
certain player,
challenge out of it if you
you
offer an
are.
easy
You're making
mode.
it easier for him. You're taking that challenge out of there.
How are you? You're not forced to use the easy mode.
Yeah,
You're not. If I
okay.
offer you an easy mode, all right. If I, all right, when Bioshock Infinite came out, all right, you
Yeah.
have easy mode, normal mode, and hard mode. All right, I started the game on hard mode and I beat the game on hard mode, but that doesn't. My challenge is not taken away because they offer an easy mode in there.
No, because Bioshock Infinite is a very story-driven game. There's so much to it besides just playing it in general.
If you
If you
take
want
a,
to play,
I first of all, do have so basically any kind of game where the story doesn't matter. If the story is not a factor, it should not have an easy mode.
that's what I would say. Then what's the point in playing a game if it doesn't have a good story?
Some people just like to play the game, or hell, someone to say, culturally, people want to like people want to. If let's say your friend is playing Dark Souls,
Okay.
like if people get Dark Souls, right, and then you see other people who are unable to play Dark Souls, like they get discouraged. Or let's say, for example, you have 100 games, right, and let's say you're really not that great at video games, and you can't beat any of them. So are you just saying that you're just not able to play? You should just not be playing video games because you can't beat any of them?
Okay, if I give you a box full of games, like let's say 100 games, and you can't beat any of them, then it sounds like it's not a problem with the games. It sounds like it's a problem with the player.
So you're saying the player get good?
In that case, yeah, I just said I gave you a box full of 100 games, and you're not good at any of them.
But this is why a
So
lot of
every
people
one of those
don't like.
developers should
This
be
is why
making their games easier for
this
you.
is why a lot of people get discouraged and don't want to play games, and why they play only games that don't have any kind of failure in it, because you basically alienating them from games that require skill.
We are alienating the people that can't beat a box full of games. In that case, we're not. We're not. I'm like,
Okay, so this is what live
yes, I
chat's saying. This
agree.
is from live chat. All
I
right,
agree. I want people
video
to play
games
video
are
games.
the hold on. This is from live chat. Video games are the only entertainment medium that gatekeep you from access to the content based on your ability at the game. Could you imagine reading a book at the end of each chapter? It locks and says you can't turn the page until you answer 3 trivia questions about what you just read. That pretty much that. You should not be gate kept from having fun in a game of your choosing just because you're not good enough.
See, I disagree with that. I 100% believe if a developer makes a game, like okay, wait. So wait, are you arguing for a moon gravity and getting over it then? Essentially,
Yeah,
how would you make a game like that easier?
just make it so the controls are less wonky, make it so you can fly easy. I don't know, I'm not the
Exactly.
designer, but I'm saying that
No,
every game
yeah,
should be
but,
beatable
but
for
you're
anybody.
ruining the game in that sense. You're
You're not
ruining
ruining the
that
game.
game.
It's up to the
You
person.
are.
You are not.
You are because you're not playing it. You're not getting the point of the game.
The
The
point
entire
of the
point
game
of
is to
that
have
game is
fun.
to struggle until you succeed.
The point
Like,
of a video game is to have fun. If you are not
no,
able
see,
to
well,
play this game,
no,
the point of this
no,
game
no,
is not to
no.
achieve something. You're not trying to like climb a mountain here. It's a video game.
It, I'm telling you, the entire point of that game is to struggle until you succeed. If you cannot succeed, then
You just
sorry, the
feel
game
shitty
isn't for
about
you.
yourself. How is that a
That
good
happens.
experience?
Welcome to the real world.
Video
Oh,
games are
yeah, like
supposed to be the escapism for the real world.
there's
You know,
plenty. Like I don't play. Whoa, whoa, yeah, no, that's that. Then you're no, that doesn't make any sense. How many people love Dark Souls and Dark Souls games because they're hard?
yeah, and you know how many? I bet you even more people. Well, I bet you. Fine, find me 100 people who love Dark Souls games because of the difficulty, and ask them if they'll like it less if there was an easier mode for other people to play.
Easily, Dark Souls especially easily. I could find 10,000 people that have that point of view.
That opinion is just literally say like you should not like that's such a terrible way of thinking. Like saying It's such an elitist way of thinking. I should do it, so you should be able to do it too.
Now, yeah, when you say it like that, I agree. It does sound a little elitist,
It's
but
literally elitist.
I stand to my point. I want a game. If I want to play a game that's challenging, like getting over it, because this is the only game that I have beat. It wasn't like I played Dark Souls and then I quit because it was too hard for me. So what do? I go find another game. There are thousands of new
But
video
what
games
if people
constantly.
want to? What if that's the only game they have? What if they don't have any other games? What if they can't
Then
buy
it's
any other games?
I feel sorry for you that that's the only game you have. But no, Dark Souls shouldn't be made easier. Getting over it shouldn't be made easier just because everybody that plays it can't beat it. The point of a game is not to be beat, I would argue. It's made to be experienced. Maybe your experience of Dark Souls isn't beating it. It's getting mad at it and saying, F this, I'm not playing it anymore.
That's not fun. Who gets fun with that? Is that what you get
Some
fun
people
with?
do. I had fun playing it for like 5 minutes. The
But if
Witcher
you
3. You know, I still haven't beat The Witcher 3 because I got to a point that I couldn't get past.
lower the
I didn't quit.
difficulty.
I don't want to lower the difficulty. I
But
want
then
to
if you
beat it
just
at a harder level.
but if you're not playing it, that's not any better.
Yeah, but I don't argue that it should be made easier. Let's say I can't beat it on easy. I would still love the game.
Because
I still
why
loud. The Witcher 3 is one of the best
okay.
games ever made,
So
even though I haven't beat it.
but why is it that apparently giving up and not beating the game is a better alternative to having than beating it on an easier difficulty?
Because incorporating easy modes oftentimes it's not as simple as a damage a damage buff. It's not that easy.
Like,
And
that's like
it's
saying
and at the same
if
time,
I'm
it's
playing a
not
puzzle
always the
game.
point of the game.
That
The
logic you
Dark
should
Souls,
never
the
be
whole
able
point
to
is to
look
put
up.
it.
By this logic, you should never be able to look up stuff up online if you don't know what to do. Because that is
No,
that's the equivalent
no,
of an easy. You're
no.
making the game easier, and you're not getting the experience. So let's take a Zelda shrine. All right, let's pretend. All right, a
Yeah.
required Zelda shrine, just so you can't say skip it. All right, you have a required Zelda shrine.
Yeah.
All right, and you can't figure out the shrine. All right, and so you look it up. All right, online. Is that not the equivalent of an easy mode at that point?
And no, it is not because you're
How
not
is it
changing the
not?
game mechanics.
You're literally
You're
looking up the answer to a puzzle.
Yeah, that's the answer to a puzzle. That's not
How
the
is
game
that?
itself.
But what do you mean that's not the game itself? The puzzle's the game.
You didn't make the game any easier. You don't make the puzzle any easier for the other people to play it. I don't. If I go into a shrine, I'm not
So you're
like if I
saying that
can't beat the shrine.
so you're
How many
saying
shrines I went into and I couldn't beat?
so
Especially
no,
like the combat ones at first because I'm not strong enough. I don't say, why is this shrine so hard? It should be easier. No,
so
you
you're
go play a
saying
little bit
that
more and come back.
you don't care if the answers or the easier mode is outside of the game, even if people
Yeah,
are
because
doing
that's
it.
not the game. Exactly. You're not changing the game. If you ask go look up guides on how to play Getting Over It, guess what? You're still beating Getting Over It in its original form.
No. Looking up guides on how to beat something like Getting Over It is not the same as looking up guides to beating shrines in Legend of Zelda.
Exactly, because they're different points. The point of Getting Over It isn't the same as Breath of the Wild.
No, I'm
The point of
saying
Getting Over It
that
is the game
I'm
mechanic. Learn the
saying
game mechanic.
yes, but I'm
Struggle,
saying
succeed.
struggle. Then you shouldn't be looking up stuff in Zelda. You should never be looking up how to solve a puzzle because that is effectively removing that game experience of you figuring out and solving it.
No,
If you want to argue,
no.
what
You
do you
can
mean,
skip
no?
you can skip shrines and come back to them for one.
No. I get. I'm saying let's. I already said pretend the shrine's obligatory because there are obligatory shrines in this game. Let's pretend that it's obligatory. You cannot skip it. You cannot progress the game without figuring out that puzzle. All right. So you have two choices: quit, so eventually figure it out. But for the sake of this argument, let's just pretend you can't, or look it up online. Is looking it up online not the equivalent of an easy mode?
No, because you're not changing the game. By your logic,
if they
how would
literally
you
put
change?
that, if they
How would no? How
literally,
would you change that shrine? Would you make that shrine easier for the people to get
so
through?
what if they literally put the looking up online equivalent inside the game? So they're saying in the game, they're like saying,
But
all
it's
right, you give up.
but it's not.
No, no,
Nope,
but
you
let's say
can't
they're.
say that. That's because it's not. That's not the
But what's
example
the
we're talking
difference?
about.
There's
The
no
shrine. Would you
difference.
make it? You would have to make the shrine easier. Let's
No,
say.
no, no. But all right, Noctis, Noctis, let me finish my point before you're saying no. Okay? How is it that again, gonna say it slower so you have time to breathe, because the live chat's concerned for you. How I'm
Really
not
today and not
joking.
yesterday?
I'm not joking. The live chat's only concerned about you. How is looking up an answer online any different than if the game gives you an option of you've been stuck in this puzzle for 20 minutes, press A to look up the answer? How is that any different?
I
The
would.
only difference is it's you have the answer given to you through the game versus outside of the game. But
Exactly. It's through the game
yes,
versus outside the
but
game.
what you're
Because
experiencing is the same. You're
I'm
still
saying
you're still
like
having
this.
the answers given to you, and you're still having an easier time at the puzzle. But are you are you say like why is that any different? If you don't want shrines to have an easy, if you don't want Zelda to have an easy mode, then you shouldn't. If you're looking stuff up online, that's hypocritical. Because
That's
you
not
should.
hypocritical.
Yes, it
I'm
is.
looking up the key to a puzzle. I'm not
But you
looking up
should
how to beat the game.
you should be figuring out that key within the game. You should be suffering and
And I
figuring it
do.
out. No, but you
Most
said
of the
you
time
looked
I
it up
do.
online. But at any point you turn that on.
I'm just saying like,
There should
yes.
be an option to look stuff up online. We all have that. It's the internet.
Well, see,
Just
okay,
like you should have an option to turn on easy mode.
now we're talking about a specific example of an easy mode. So you wouldn't make the puzzle any easier. You would just tell the people how to beat it.
I'm saying
Yes?
there's nothing wrong with having that as an option. Yeah. You
Yeah,
can
but that's different. I'm arguing don't make the puzzles easier for people. And which is Dark Souls. Okay, so what do you do in Dark Souls in this instance? There's no, oh, you've been here for 20 minutes. Here's how you get better. Like there's no way to do
No,
it.
you could say, all
Souls
right,
is
so you're
100%
struggling with
based
this one
around you getting
area.
good
All
at
right. So
play.
you have a temporary buff, so that way that you can help get through an area, and then after you clear that area, they go back to normal difficulty. What is wrong with that?
Because it sounds like you're skirting around the challenge,
Okay, so
the
you're
gameplay
telling me, all right,
experience.
so here's a hypothetical, all right? All right, so
Yeah.
what if you had Dark Souls where after you beat all right, so you're trying to clear an area, right? And let's say
Okay.
there's 100 enemies in this area, okay? And you were to say, all right, so I'm gonna beat, all right, I beat the first 10 enemies, I beat the first 10 enemies and I die. I beat the first 10 enemies and I die. And eventually the game just says, all right, you know what? You're really struggling with this area. Let's make it easier by making the enemies disappear.
Then it sounds like why did they design it with 100 enemies in the beginning?
Well, so you're saying that's dumb, and Dark Souls shouldn't do that.
No, I'm saying that if they designed it with 100 enemies there, they did it for a reason.
Okay, because just pointing out this is literally the game mechanic of the entirety of Dark Souls 2. Is if you're unable to beat an area, the enemies stop spawning.
Exactly.
The
It sounds like they
entire
made it
game.
easier for people. Let's
Yes,
go back
but
to
what's
Dark
wrong
Souls
with
1.
that? But why is that wrong? What is wrong with that? What my issue is that these things are mandatory built to the game. My issue is that you don't have a choice. If you had that as a choice in Dark Souls 1, that would be like so much better. Why not have that as an option? Why not have a way to make it more accessible for people to beat the game? Like Resident Evil 4, one of the not personally, because I don't really care about Resident Evil, but one of the highest acclaimed Resident Evil games and games on the Wii specifically. All right?
Okay.
And for the Resident Evil, I don't even know if this is all of them, but I know this is Resident Evil 4. That game literally, without telling you, scales its difficulty to the skill of the player. So if you're dying a lot, they actually make the enemies easier. And if you're doing really well, they actually make the games harder. That's literally built into the coding, and it scales with the difficulty. Why is that not an amazing mechanic?
See now I'm looking at like fun fact. If you go to Metacritic and look up the user score for Dark Souls, Dark Souls 1 has an 8.9, Dark Souls 2 has an 8.1. But reverse that, and the critics went from an 89 to a 91. I'm guessing this is because the critics that couldn't beat the first one, they didn't like the first one as much. They in the
Okay,
second one, it's suddenly a little bit
read.
easier.
All right, read to me what these critics are saying in these reviews. Don't assume this is why they're saying that. Read what the reviews are before you give me this garbage.
You want nuance? We have never been about nuance on this channel.
No, I'm saying that if you're going to use Metacritic as an argument for anything, all right,
Okay.
don't assume why they're giving scores to things.
Wait, you realize I would then have to look up the review of the first game and the review of the second one, and then read them both.
Don't use Metacritic in an argument. Is my TLDR.
I'm saying I can use Metacritic because it proves my point a little bit.
Bullshit. Metacritic barely proves the point of if a game is good.
No, so my
That's like
point though is
that's
the
like
user
the
scores
place.
enjoyed the first one more than the second one, and I'm guessing because it's more challenging. And then after beating Dark Souls 1, you load up Dark Souls 2, and it's easier. And they didn't like it as much.
You're assuming that. I can make an argument just as well as someone who's actually beaten these games that people like Dark Souls 1 because it's actually an open world game and not linear like Dark Souls 2. It has nothing to do with the difficulty.
Dark Souls 2 is listed as a role-playing action RPG. It sounds like it has plenty of.
Okay.
Why am I arguing? I can't argue Dark Souls. I've never played the game.
Well, then don't you tell me what people experience in Dark Souls if you have not beaten these games. All right, because Dark Souls 2 and Dark Souls 3 are both incredibly linear games compared to Dark Souls 1, which might as well be an open world game with how many ways there are to beat that. Yes, people are going to enjoy Dark Souls 1 more than Dark Souls 2 and 3.
Yeah, no, I'm not on board with this. Every game needs to have an easy mode. There's so many thousands of games. Like to me, it sounds like these people are entitled that they should have the right to play any game ever. No, that's not fair. That's not right. Why
fair?
put
Fair
that stress?
Fair to who?
Why put the stress on the developers to make an easier mode?
All right, let's put it. All right, here's a weird. If you want to talk about accessibility, all right, let's ignore easy mode for a second. All right, should every game be fully accessible for people with let's say disabilities and stuff like that? It's as similar.
No.
So basically,
that's
no. Hear me out before you respond. All right.
Okay,
So
I know.
if you're gonna say a game, all right, where you have to let's go referencing like Mario Party style, where you have to mash A as fast as possible in order to do this thing, right? Like that, a lot of people are physically incapable of doing that because of a disability, and this is not getting good. This is why a lot of games add accessibility features, like instead of mashing a button.
I gotta be honest. I really don't. I don't want to talk about this. I feel like I'm gonna say something mean, and I don't mean to. I don't.
Right,
Can we skip this?
Fine, we'll skip this. But my mind
You
is
literally,
blown.
I'm tapping out on this
mind
one.
is
You can
blown.
win. I don't care on that one because it's not the same. We're talking your general audience of like. Oh god, nope. We're skipping it.
I can't believe you're all right. I can't believe you're arguing to about Dark Souls difficulty when you've never even you haven't even gone through these games, and you're telling me what the community likes about Dark Souls.
Because I've taught, I know a bunch of people that love Dark Souls.
Okay.
I've not once have I ever heard one of them say, "I wish it was easier."
Okay, but what if I could find you people who say they wish it was easier? That I could find you.
Then I'll go find people to say they wish it wasn't. Like I said, you can find plenty of people that don't want it to be easier.
I'm not saying no. First of all, wanting to be easier and adding an easy mode are two different things. All right, I'm not saying make the game inherently easier. I'm saying give an option for people to make it easier that most people can choose to ignore.
Nope, I think you are putting a stress on the developers to change the way the game was meant to be played and change what they wanted players to get out of their game.
How much bloody stress are you putting on a developer to lower damage numbers?
It's a lot of extra.
What do
Yeah,
you
it
mean that's a lot
is.
of extra effort? Let's just change some
Because
numbers
you
in
have
the
to figure,
code.
okay, you have to figure out exactly what makes a game easier for people.
If you're talking about Dark Souls, literally lower the damage.
Yeah, but
That's not
that's
hard
like,
to do. Anybody who had coding knowledge could tell you that changing a damage number is like easy. You just literally
yeah,
change
but that's just the
numbers.
damage number. Then you have to fix the UI at the beginning of the game, and
What?
you have
How
to
do
make
you
sure
get
that
the fix? Hold up.
every
Why do you
step
have
of
to
the
change?
game.
Why do you
No,
have
you
to
have to
change
change
the
every
UI
step of
by
the game to make
changing
sure
damage
that it's
number?
accessible for a person that can't play it on a normal difficulty.
All right,
And
give me
me,
a
I
game. Give me another game other than Dark Souls. All right, give me a game other than Dark Souls. Then for
that
like a
doesn't
game
have that doesn't have a difficulty thing. Okay,
that is not Bennett Foddy games that are like. Give me a game that's not notoriously known for being difficult. That does not have an easy mode that shouldn't have one.
I'm trying to think of games that are like that, because most games have an easy mode. Never played Terraria, unfortunately. I would like to, but most games have an easy mode. I don't demand an easy mode from every game.
But why?
How about
What is
like
wrong with putting
most of
easy?
your older games? Most of your older games don't have
Yes, and I get
difficulty
mad
settings.
that they no, but see, first of all, one, this is part why I hate those games, and two, when those games get remade now, they add easy modes. They add like some of the hardest platforms back in the day, like Lion King. The Aladdin, they came out with those remaster, remake
Oh,
collections,
Lion
whatever.
King with
They
yeah.
literally added options where you can let the game autoplay and you can start the game at any point and dive
Whoa.
in.
Do you know? But that's not fair. Do you know why Lion King is made so hard? Because it felt like the game wasn't long enough. So they went back and they did little
So
tweaks
when
here and
you,
there just to
but
make the
you,
game
so
harder
you,
to
so you
play. That's not
literally,
the
but
same.
you're bringing up old games. Most old games are designed with that same
Okay,
logic.
okay, then let's look at Metroid. Another game that I haven't beat because
Which
it's
Metroid? That's so vague.
infuriating. The first Metroid.
Okay, the first
Metroid.
Metroid.
Yeah,
No.
1988.
Don't you tell me that you can say you Metroid and people are supposed to assume it's the first game. Bullshit. If I say Legend of Zelda, how many people are gonna assume it's the first one?
It's the first game. Because the first game is called Legend of Zelda.
Yeah, but you're telling me
If you,
nobody's going to assume that you'd mean any other game when you say Legend of Zelda.
you know what really, like, how have you not brought up the fact that my argument over a game shouldn't have an easy mode is counterproductive to my argument about the original Legend of Zelda, to be honest.
Because content, Noctis, we've been over this. If I just shut you down in 30 seconds, it wouldn't be a discussion.
Actually, no, you know what? Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, it's not the same. I don't think I've ever argued that the game should be easier. I feel like I'm not told specifically what to do.
But what if
I think that's my problem.
but what if, all right, but the game, but their intent is to make you, if their intent is to make you figure it out and literally try things out and blow up walls randomly, is that not
Then
like
why
what
on
you
earth
want?
did they give you a manual with all the answers?
So is the argument manuals or no manuals? I say the manual is in my favor because that's the equivalent of an easy mode. It's an optional piece of ways to lower the difficulty that is not forced upon the player.
I just like there's so many games that I like. Super Metroid doesn't have a difficulty setting. And even though I struggled with it, it was a lot of fun. I
See,
never
but I
said this
can't
game should
comment.
be
I can't
easier.
comment on this because I don't. I said this yesterday. I don't give a shit about Metroid. I don't know anything about them. I don't know. I can't make an
No,
argument
no,
for or
no,
against.
no. We're gonna if we're gonna bring up games, the other person has to argue, even though they haven't
You want me
played
to?
them,
You want me
like
to? I
Dark
don't.
Souls.
No. First of all, you know basics about Dark Souls. I don't actually know what kind of game these Metroid games are. Like, this isn't. I can't make. I literally don't know anything about these games. All right, if I was to tell you, all right, I'm like just gonna pull up a random game here. If I have like, geez, what game would all right. Do you know the game Impossible Creatures?
Let me Google it. I'm
No. Outside of Google it, just to emphasize my point. This is not even an argument. This is just to emphasize my point. If I say Impossible Creatures, it's an old RTS.
yeah.
Do you know the game? I assume not. It's not very good.
Is that wait? Is that the one where they have like like Kim Possible?
Yeah, the
Where
animal
they have the
fusions.
animal
It's
fusions?
CNN Amy is an RTS.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
Okay, I
but
know a little bit.
okay. But my point is, let's just for the sake of argument that you basically like you know what it is and you know nothing, right? So
Mhm.
could you make a discussion about it without like having to start researching stuff right now? No, you can't make a discussion about a game you don't know. This is literally me with Metroid. I can't argue for all I know. I agree with your point in Metroid. I'm saying I
So wait,
literally
are
don't
you
know
arguing
anything about Metroid.
are you saying my opinion on Dark Souls is valid because I know a little bit about it?
I'm saying you can at least make a discussion. I'm not arguing for or against. I'm saying that I can't discuss Metroid with you, but I can listen to you rant about it for 2 hours. I legitimately, I legitimately cannot discuss Metroid because I legitimately know nothing about it to the point that I'm just gonna sit here and listen to you guys talk about, listen to you talk to nobody about Metroid, which is fine if you
See,
want to rant about Metroid. I just can't discuss it with you.
okay. But that's my like obviously Miyamoto meant for. See, this is why I think the manual was added after the fact, after they designed the game, because I feel like Miyamoto really wanted people to have that experience of running around and exploring, but realize there's no way to know how to explore properly because there's no one to tell you to blow up every cliff you come across. There's like it's missing those little key aspects that teach you how to play the game properly.
No, no, no. Because back then, that was the design of the game. He wants you to experiment. So you have bomb. All right, you're given a bomb. All right, it's
Yeah.
push buttons, and you see what. All right, you push a button, the bomb drops. All right, and then it explodes. All right, what happens if I try putting it against a wall? Oh,
Well,
things.
who thinks that? I didn't think that, and I know that the game is entirely based around exploration.
That's a you
I
thing. That's
figured,
literally. I'm not. First of all, I agree with you. Right. Disclaimer again. I hate Legend of Zelda. I think it's trash that they don't explain anything. This is literally what people who love the game tell you. They love that you try things. First of all, the argument that you're making is why I hate a lot of Mario games. Where they're like, when did they tell me to press this button to spin in the air, like and land, and you can break blocks, and you can jump on like little spike things and stuff like
do
that.
you know how many buttons are on the NES? There are like
No,
six
I know. My
that you
saying
can
is
press
they never teach you those mechanics though in Mario games. They just give
because
you
there's
the
no
game.
Mario game where no, there's no Mario game where you can't get by with just movement and
Yo,
jumping. That's all you need to beat
really?
Super
No, no,
Mario
no, no,
Bros.
no.
One,
All
two,
right,
three.
whatever Mario game is the one with the cape. All right.
Yeah, Super Mario World is what
Yeah.
you're
Okay.
saying.
So that game, I remember playing it as a kid, and I remember literally being stuck at the part where you have to run up the pipe because I didn't know you could hold down the button and you could run because they never
Okay.
told me that. That's literally, but you're supposed to figure that. That's literally the Legend of Zelda argument.
No, the Legend of Zelda argument is so no, like you're arguing a game mechanic, which is
I'm
simply
arguing
like holding a
blowing
button while
up.
running
Yep, is that
versus
that's blowing
ver-
up walls is a game mechanic. They're
no,
equivalent.
so do you know how you get bombs? You have to kill enemies to get bombs. And then you have to use those bombs to blow up the cliffs. Yes. In red that's a lot easier to do once you know what you need to do.
No,
If you're
I'm
given
saying
bombs, why
so
would you just go run around using them on walls that you're not fighting an enemy?
because that's you, why would I think that I can hold down a button to run in a Mario? It's the same
Be-
argument.
no, it's not because all you have to, it's like learning to play the game. It's part of playing the
So
game. And wait, no, doesn't Mario have a tutorial, a small on how to play?
so hold up. To some people in the live chat coming in and they're a bit confused about the they're arguing the manual thing. So the to catch you up, all right, for anyone just coming in, Noctis is arguing that manuals should that they should not have given you they should not give you manuals. Those instructions should be built into the game. And if it's in a manual, then it was not originally part of the game and it was added after the game was fully designed because they realized the game was too hard or vague, depending on your choice of words.
I'm just saying, like your example. I think you missed a tutorial on how to do it. Maybe I did miss that in Legend of Zelda. Maybe I did. And I'll accept that. Maybe I missed a certain person. There's not a lot of people to talk to in that game, so I don't know how I would have missed it, but maybe I
You're
did.
saying
That doesn't mean make the game easier. It means teach me how to properly play the game. Those are two different things.
okay. So why can't you have that in Dark Souls?
Does Dark Souls tell you how to swing a sword and dodge?
Do they teach
Isn't
you how
that
to?
what you need to beat the game?
They don't teach it. They literally just put you in the game. They don't have a tutorial or explanations on things.
Yeah, exactly. Because you just press buttons until something happens. Oh, look,
Yeah,
I
so
got a different attack.
but that's literally contradictory to what you said. You should we're just saying they should explain to you in the game how to figure it out instead of just pushing buttons.
Put you pushing buttons at the start of a game is not the same as how to progress further into the game. You don't like if you just stand there and press
Oh
buttons
no!
for
I could
Zelda, you'll
100%
drop
I
bombs.
could 100% argue, all right, that pressing buttons and to learn the controls is equivalent to trying to figure out what to do next if it's a new game mechanic. 100% the same thing.
Ah, no, you're arguing how to play a game versus making a game easier. I
No, no.
don't like
So you're
what.
saying
So okay,
what if
wait. Oh,
you
all right, all right. I'll cede this one to you. Okay, are you happy on
I
my
don't
now?
even know
My
what
new
you're
question
seeing.
is I don't know what I'm seeding either. My point is, okay, let's say easy mode in Halo 1 isn't easy enough for you. Should there be an easier version of it?
Yeah,
How easy do you make the game before they just don't spawn enemies and let you run through there, not fighting anybody? Is
I'm
that
saying
what's the point?
you should they're basically should I do believe that games should basically have a way to really make it easier for you to be able to beat the game. I don't think adding that as options is ever a bad thing. I do
I'm
not
just
think that ever adding
how
options to
easy,
make it
but how easy do you make a game before you're not really playing the game?
that is up to some people literally feel that just being able to have control of your character as you progress is good enough. They just want to be able to, like it's literally like if you watch, all right, do you like Skatebird? We talked about this very briefly from the direct from E3. There's a game called Skatebird, right?
I seen a little bit of it. I didn't
Okay. So to sum up,
obviously
for
without
anyone who
playing
does,
it, but
so for someone, to sum up again, for anyone who doesn't know Skatebird, all right, they literally said, all right, you want to play, a game like a skateboarding game like Tony Hawk that requires a whole bunch of buttons where you have to do crazy button commands to do all your cool tricks and whatever. All right, but the gimmick of Skateboard is that you can go into the controls and you can map multiple tricks to happen with just one button. So that way, it's basically the easy mode, but you still get to experience doing the tricks, go into the game, playing the game.
that's
It's just
not the
they
same.
remove the skill of it, and that's really cool. That's
Okay,
cool
what
that they
about
have that
okay?
option.
Then how about a fighting game? Should you
No,
make how like
that's why I said fight. No, no, fighting games. If this is the same thing RTS is, the difficulty of fighting games is multiplayer because they have easy mode in fighting games that you can just spam a button and you can win. Every fighting game has an easy mode such that if you were to, all you do is literally hit a button and just push forward, just
okay?
keep hitting that button, which is about as basic you can get in a fighting game. You will win.
Okay, then what about other multiplayer only games like the
I'd say you
Titanfall series?
multiplayer only games. You can't argue difficulty because you can't scale the difficulty of players.
No, no, we're talking about video games being easier for people. Little Timmy just got a copy of Titanfall. It's the only game he has. Can you imagine this little boy trying to play Titanfall with other people and being denied that chance? Oh, poor
No,
Tim.
because
Think of the Timmys
no.
of the world, you know?
First of all, there's no logistic. All right, there's no. That's not a good argument because there's no way in reality to magically make it so a worse player can beat a better player. You can make it so a
I
worse player can beat a NPC. You can't
yeah, but how
code the.
no. Yeah, no, you're talking
All right,
about
give
the
me a
experience
magical.
of a kid being denied the ability to play a
No, no, no,
game.
no, no. I said when we first started arguing this, go back to the tape. I said this is only going to work if you don't include multiplayer games because that doesn't work for the sake of the argument.
See,
Now
exactly. You are then don't include Dark Souls games.
Dark Souls
Don't
games are
include.
single player.
But there's games
There's ways
you
to
want to
make it
disclude
easier.
all multiplayer games?
I
You
want to
shouldn't play
disclude
Overwatch then.
multiplayer
You shouldn't play Team
modes.
Fortress 2 then. You shouldn't play all these. You know how many games are multiplayer only nowadays? It's very common.
And
Fortnite.
yes,
What are you gonna do?
alright,
Sorry,
find
kid.
me anyone who gives the argument that multiplayer games should. Nobody argues about if you should have an easy mode and because multiplayer games are multiplayer games. That's not the same
But
argument.
why on earth would you worry about a kid's experience ability to play a multiplayer game versus Dark Souls?
Because Dark Souls is a single player game. Why do people play single player games? Because they want to be able to beat a game without worrying about the abilities of other people.
No, exactly. You're asking for every game besides multiplayer games, apparently, to be handed to you on a golden platter.
What's wrong with that?
Then what's the point in playing a video game?
Because
Just give
it's
them a
fun.
freaking coloring book. You
because
know?
they have fun.
Doing what? You're not playing a game.
That's
You're not doing
elitist.
anything.
That's
You're
elitist.
not beating the game.
That's 100% elitist.
Give them Minecraft. I like it.
Whoa,
There's so many
first of all,
games
let's not
besides
game
these.
shame. All right, don't game shame.
Minecraft. Okay, the reason I said Minecraft is because to me it's borderline the perfect game. There's so many different things to do with it. That's my point. But my point is, like, if you're
Okay,
just
no,
handing
I just
these
want to
games to people,
emphasize. You can argue
what's the
things all you
point?
like. Don't game shame people. All right, don't. I don't want game shaming in these arguments.
You're gonna bring up making games handicap is accessible. That's okay, but the second I say go play Minecraft,
How are those the same?
it's too far.
I'm saying that making handicapping games accessible. Yes, that's just literally make it so people with disabilities should be able to play the game. I'm not saying if you're bad, play Minecraft.
You're
all right. That's not the same. That's completely different.
Wait. I'm saying if you can't beat Dark Souls, find a different game to play. Minecraft was just the game I recommended.
No, that statement is okay. You literally said if you can't beat Dark Souls, play Minecraft, which is game shaming.
Oh my
which
god.
Which is completely different.
tFay, you know what I meant.
I'm saying
you know what I meant.
I'm thinking of. Do you realize that people listen to you other than me? All right.
I'm not arguing with live chat. I'm not arguing with other people. We are having a discussion.
That if you but I want the discussion to not trigger or make fun of people who happen to be listening. Because otherwise I can't just have the discussion. Because believe it, I don't know about you, but I have an argument outside of a confined room. I think about the people who are listening to me.
I am too. I'm telling you, if you can't play a game, like if you can't beat Dark Souls, go play an easier game.
I'm okay with you making that argument. I'm just emphasizing.
That's what I meant. Oh my!
What?
Come on!
Said.
Why are we arguing? This is dumb. We don't need to argue about game shaming. My point was, if you can't beat Dark Souls, go play another game. Dark Souls is not meant for you. Like I said, I use Minecraft. I do not
like saying that games are not meant for people in terms of difficulty. If you don't like the genre, all right. If you want to argue that freakishly hard beyond readers that is a genre, fine. I don't think that's a genre, but that's the only way I would
It's called Souls-like.
It's a stupid genre that shouldn't be a genre.
It is. It's an entire genre in itself. Challenging games based only on being able to beat the game by itself.
But that logic, Celeste should be a Souls-like.
So okay, like, what do you do then with games like Animal Crossing?
No, hold up.
How do you make Animal Crossing easier?
No, let's skip the easy thing, all right? Now, you said that Souls-like is a genre, all right? This is a trigger for me, all right? No, Souls-like is not a genre because you're thinking of difficult game. And the problem is people did seem to realize that games were difficult before Dark Souls came about. And after Dark Souls, every game that's difficult is now called Souls-like. Like, do people
I
even
think there,
know?
but no, Souls-like is a
All
very
right, you define Souls-like. Define Souls-like for me that
okay.
it justifies to be a
It's
genre.
a challenging. That's the first thing, because that's what Dark Souls brought to the table. That's what Bloodborne brings to the table. They're challenging, usually first-person games, with the entire game
You do realize that neither of the Dark
being
Souls
based
game is first
around
person,
beating it.
right?
What?
There's no game in the Dark Souls franchise that's first person.
Third person, first. Oh my god, really? Third person then. Okay, are you happy? Third person
Yes.
over the shoulder.
They're
Okay.
completely different types of games. But
Oh my
continue.
god.
So challenging third person.
It's a challenging third person game, usually based around beating the game. Like that's the point of the Souls like. It's
Okay,
not
so if it's not
enjoying a
but if
story.
it's not third person, is it a Souls like?
Uh yes, it's still then you don't even need a third person. It's
Okay, so
okay, you know what?
basically,
A
so
Souls
I
like
want
is a challenging game that you beat the entire point of the game is beating it.
so why
That's
is
what I would argue.
Celeste not a Souls like?
You could describe Celeste kind of as a Souls like.
Bullshit!
But it's also a
It's
story-driven game.
Dark Souls has an epic story to it. It's just not handed
No,
to
I
you.
asked you about the story. You said it doesn't have a story.
No, I
You
said
said
people make up the
it's
story.
all
There
based
is a
around
story.
lore that the
No,
fans make up.
They do, but there is an actual story. They just don't tell
How do you
what
make
it
up lore
is.
about a story that happens?
Because
You don't
it's
see a
all
bunch of
inferred. If you look at a painting, a very famous painting, let's say the Mona Lisa, is there a story behind the painting? Yes, he didn't just paint a person, slap it on, and just walk away. He just doesn't. But it's all about how you interpret it. That's the Dark Souls story. All right. And first of all, are difficult. That's why if you want to make a Souls like a genre, this is me very. This isn't even against you. This is against the game industry. Define it in such the way that it actually means something, because all people say is challenging. All right. If you want to say, for example, all right, I'll give you an example of what could be a Souls like, right? A game where you fight enemies, usually a bunch of small enemies and then a large boss, and then if you die, your soul is there, and then you have to go get it to get your EXP so you can actually level make progress. For example, what they used in things like the new Jedi game, I forget what it's called, Fallen Order, whatever like that.
Hollow Knight.
You
Would also fit under that.
Hollow Knight would also fit that argument. You could argue those games are Souls-like if you want to make that genre. That's specific enough that I'd be okay with that. Except that's not what that's not what games labeled as Souls-like are half the time. And live chat says, this is from live chat. Souls-like games generally have common elements like high difficulty, high risk combat with hard-hitting enemies, sparse checkpoints, enemies dropping souls, some wiki. All right, but I could give you, if I was to look up Souls-like in Steam right now, there's a whole ton of games that don't fit this description. Is why I don't consider it a genre, because people aren't using it properly. All right, people just assign it to literally anything where you die.
Why do we keep going back to Dark Souls?
I don't know. All right, hold on. So let's talk about Metroidvanias. This is something bad for the chat, so we can completely step away from Dark Souls. All right.
Thank you.
All right. I hope you guys like that. All right. Let us know who you think won in the Discord, live chats, on Twitter. Hashtag tFay beats Noctis or hashtag Noctis beat tFay. All right. Make that a thing. I don't think that's a thing. I'm assuming nobody took that on Twitter. All right. Make that a hashtag. All right. Cool. Metroidvanias. Okay. So I don't know actually where to go, so I'm just gonna start off with a random. All right, I'm just gonna start off with a random take here. All right, how should Metroidvanias be defined to like kind of segue from the Souls-like thing?
Metroidvanias. They're usually side-scrolling platformers that feature heavily. They're not feature heavily based around exploration.
Hold on, repeat that. I'm sorry, I missed that.
I would say it's usually a side-scrolling platformer heavily based around exploration.
Okay, so again, not disagreeing with you. Now, does it have to have in-game, like, does it have to have backtracking, and does it have to have powers that you find via exploration, and assuming both those cases are true, should it be able to be done in any order you want? I'm not even arguing this is a thing. These are just questions that are coming up within my head.
No, I get so that see the problem with so you usually a lot of these like Metroidvania, it almost has to be a 2D. I don't know if they make a 3D like a full 3D exploration
I don't
game.
think
Like
so.
is
Oh,
Metroid
actually,
Prime a Metroidvania?
no. Well,
I don't
actually,
think
yeah. So
so.
I guess let's explain for anyone listening who doesn't know what a Metroidvania is, because I get that a lot actually. A Metroidvania is a game that combines elements from original Castlevania and original Metroid. Not all Metroids, which is why I'm agreeing with Noctis for once, in that Metroid Prime is not a Metroidvania because it's 3D. Like I also agree inherently 3D games cannot be Metroidvanias unless they did some really weird mechanics with it.
I see that would be the tough thing is like so back to so if a game is similar to Metroid before Metroid came out in 86. I said 88 earlier, that was my bad. In 86,
Yes, that's the thing that everyone's
if a
gonna have a
game
problem with in this podcast. The year of
I
Metroid.
I'm trying my best to correct myself. I stand by everything else I said today.
I don't even remember you saying a year.
Yeah, when we talked about Metroid originally. But like if a game comes out before that that has a bunch of the same things, is that also a Metroidvania? And it applies to like Souls-like and any genre that's
So
described
no,
by it.
so Metroidvania, I'm okay with being a genre because it is used properly enough that I know what to expect going in. So many games, I don't have a problem with Souls like being a genre if it was used properly, like if it was only applicable to things like Jedi Fallen Order, because it actually tells me what to expect going in. People literally use Souls like on just any game where you die a lot, and so it makes the category meaningless.
No,
So
yeah, but no. I'm not arguing what qualifies it. As much as if a game comes out before Dark Souls, it features a bunch of the same properties. Is it then a Souls-like?
in the argument that, well, that's my argument of why I don't think Souls like should be a genre, but in the argument that Souls like is a genre, then those games should be backtracked and classified as Souls like if it met exact criteria of Souls like. Like, let's pretend I don't think Metroidvanias existed before Metroid and Castlevania, but let's pretend it did for the sake of argument. I don't know retro games. Someone feel free to correct me. Uh, those games would be classified as Metroidvanias.
Okay, see, I don't know. I can't argue like Souls-like as much as I can like a first-person shooter. The very first-person shooter came out like in the early 70s. A lot of people don't know this. It was Maze.
What game was this?
Maze. It's an old game. It's called Maze or something.
Oh, the game's literally
But
called
anyway,
Maze. Oh, okay.
yeah, it's literally just called Maze. But it came all the way back out in like 73 when the concept of first person shooter hadn't even been like it wasn't called a first person shooter
Sure.
until years and years later.
Sure.
Then I believe before we had the term first person shooter, Doom clone was a thing. Games are just Doom clones. Would you agree with that?
Agree with what?
The idea that Doom clone was a thing before the term first person shooter was?
I have no idea. I'm not a video game like I I didn't take video game 101. I genuinely don't know. Was Doom Clone a thing? You could literally be making this up. I believe you. I don't know.
All right. So, okay, here's a fun thing. Back in 79, there was a Dark Souls game that came out from Software. A lot of people don't know this. That featured an easy mode. And it wasn't popular. So that's why they decided any game after that.
Just trying to trigger right now, aren't you? We're trying to move on. You're just like, it's like,
I was merely posing more of a thought experiment over a Souls-like game coming out before Dark Souls.
okay. So my point is that even if it wasn't called, like, let's say Maze wasn't called a first-person shooter back then, right? I think that if it wasn't a first-person shooter back then, but then first-person shooters were defined, then I think that Maze or whatever was the first-person shooter, I'm not a video game encyclopedia, would be classified
All
as a
right,
first-person shooter.
I'm looking this up. Give me a second. I'll Google it.
I'm like, but whatever it was, I mean, it's not the point. Whether Maze, Quake, Doom, like if everything was called a Doom clone, I don't care if it's called Doom clone because I'm assuming that Doom clone were very accurate in what games were classified as Doom clones. And first-person shooter,
Maze
pew
War,
pew
by the way,
pew.
and it came out in 1973.
Okay, sure, but I'm saying like I don't have a problem with it. First-person shooter trying to be called Doom clone. I don't. My argument is my issues with genres isn't whether or not it's referencing a single game. It's I want accuracy in the genre, in the tag.
But that's okay. So is a tank game where you're always inside the tank shooting at other tanks? Is that a first-person shooter?
Are you in first person or third person in this tank game?
You're in first person. Does that count as a first-person shooter?
Yes.
But I think the definition of first-person shooter doesn't include that.
What is the definition of a first person shooter?
I don't know. I'm
What?
simply stating.
You just said it doesn't include it, but you don't know.
I said it may not include it.
Yeah, and I may not and I may be hiding a pie behind my PNG. Like what kind of argument was that?
Content, you know. Every time, anytime one of us does something dumb, I'm just gonna say content.
I'll give you that. I at least to me, all right. If you're going to make all right, first person shooter is any game where you're in first person. Simple enough. There's no way to mess that up. You're either in first person or not. That's binary. And you're shooting
True.
things as a core game mechanic. That is a first person.
What if
shooter.
I want a second person shooter? You know what? We haven't talked about that enough. We need to talk about why there's no second person shooters.
What would that even be?
I don't know. I find first person shooters and third person shooters a little too hard. I would like something in the middle.
I would argue that of course not based on your first or versus third, but all right, you're the game designer. How would you do a second person? Before anyone says a response, I'm assuming that Noctis is bringing up this dumb question that he's ignoring that 2D shooters exist.
It was 100% just a joke. just me trying to poke the bear like I've been doing.
Like,
oh my gosh. Oh, why? Why do we do this?
Because we want to have people join our Patreon that's being unveiled next week. Ooh, segue.
Oh my gosh. So okay, but there's so many of these old games that I like playing because they're challenging, and I wouldn't have risen to the challenge if they had been easier.
I'm not saying make them easier. I'm saying are you saying that you never would have tried to beat the game on the standard difficulty if they gave you the option for a hard mode?
Say what?
No. So I understand what you're saying. You're saying that you never would have had. All right, I'm gonna be mad. Regret this in 5 minutes. But let me use Dark Souls as an example, just because that's my experience. I played Dark Souls and I sucked and I died over and over and over again, right? But then I was able to overcome that and beat the game, and that felt great. But I wouldn't have been mad if there was the option in the game for an easy mode. I don't think I would have. I probably wouldn't have touched the easy mode, and I probably still would have had the same. My experience of beating the game isn't deferred because there's an easy mode. The only thing that's not having easy mode grants me is when I say I beat Dark Souls, people don't just go, I bet you beat on easy mode. Like I would eventually lose flex potential.
No, but there's also, like, I would argue that the point of Dark Souls isn't to
See, this is where
make your way through the story.
I'm not using Dark Souls. All right, go back to your old retro difficult games. I'm just trying to relate to your example. I'm saying
okay. Let's go like Wolfenstein. Doesn't really have the original Wolfenstein. I don't think it had a challenge mode or a challenge difficulty. You just start it up and you start playing.
No,
The point of the game isn't I would
But I'm
argue a lot of
saying
these
that
old games,
so
with
no no.
some like
So
commercial games
my
set aside.
question is with these old retro games, which are
Uh-huh.
designed for the most part to be more difficult due to the nature of games and industry at the time, not arguing that they shouldn't do that. My saying is, would your do you feel that like are you saying that if they just add an easy mode, you're gonna and you're unable to do the game, you're just always going to take that option? Like people
You,
just
you see, but I usually a lot of times I'll play games on easy mode, just because I want to experience the story. I don't want like
yeah, I
if
don't think I've
let's
ever done
say
that before in my life.
see, and that's where we differ. Like I'm trying to think of like Horizon Zero Dawn is a great example. I played it on easy because I wanted to experience the storyline. I know that the storyline is supposed to be really cool and deep and thought provoking, and I didn't want my progress in the story to be limited by encountering a challenge that I can't get past. I did encounter some challenges that were a little too hard. I wasn't playing the game properly.
Okay,
Adjust my strategy. I beat that challenge
so
and I move
basically,
on.
okay. Wait, I'm not actually sure what your argument here is by saying this.
My point is I didn't need an easier mode. I needed to play the game properly, which was just on me.
Okay, but
And
what's wrong with adding the easy mode though, so you can learn have an
I
easier
know
time playing? If you're learning math, all right, and let's say easy mode is algebra and hard mode is calculus, all right, and I can argue, and this is fact, this isn't a personal opinion, that you can learn calculus with knowing zero algebra. There's literal books on this. Like, why is it bad to offer the people to learn algebra first?
so okay, then we'll carry that logic. Uh, you shouldn't need to learn algebra because calculators nowadays can do most of the stuff for you.
Is calculators not the equivalent of an easy mode?
It kind of is, yeah.
So by that
But
logic, you
isn't the point
shouldn't
of
be
but
arguing you should be against calculators.
I I'm kind of using it to disprove your point. Like if you have calculators, you're gonna miss out on learning how to do the important stuff. Would you not? See, isn't
Okay.
that why they tell us we can't use like when I took AP Calc in
Okay,
high school, I couldn't use my calculator
by that logic, you
on some
shouldn't be
tests.
allowed trolleys and other tools in terms of lifting things. You should just work out and get stronger so you can carry boxes.
I mean, it
Use
sounds like you should, and you're arguing that if you can't lift a box, they should take stuff out of it to make the box lighter.
I'm
That's not
saying
the
that there's
point. The
nothing
box
wrong.
is there to
I'm
be
saying
moved. The
no.
stuff in it is there to be moved.
What you're saying that people shouldn't be allowed to use tools to make a task easier.
No, you're arguing that you should make the task easier by removing what the task is.
No, I'm saying that
Instead of as
offering options is people should have the option to make things easier. I all right.
We're now past video games. We're talking math.
I'm sorry that this is literally the same argument that I have in math class where people no like real talk. I'm gonna take a minute for a slight tangent to our tangent of the tangent. All right. I legitimately have arguments with people in both directions on whether or not things like Common Core should exist or calculus should be allowed to use in the classroom because I'm a math guy. I can do math in my head. I got good, right? I'm like Dark Souls math equivalent, all right?
Hey,
But
man to that.
right now, there's that weird conundrum as a math teacher on if I should be teaching students to be on my level or should I be teaching students how to do things like use a calculator or give them tricks in order for way to
Exactly.
understand problems without skipping
How
steps.
farther would we be in the world if teachers made us get on their level? Stop pandering to little kids,
Okay, do you know
Make them
why?
work
But do
harder,
you
work
know
for it.
why things like this were implemented?
Because little kids can't get on the level of an adult.
No, actually, it's the adults are on the levels of kids. So not bullshitting. People did it. All right, so things like for Common Core, which is basically, if you want to use a general term, forced easy mode on kids. All right, that exists because people were unable to handle how different states and different states had different grade levels and abilities because they all taught differently. So they were forcing everyone to be on the same level, which if you're going to compare math is taught now versus how we learned math back in our day, that is easy mode, right? So they're forcing easy mode on people. And so I have this argument with people, again, not arguing that we should have Common Core. I'm saying, should we be teaching people easier methods to do the same thing when they can just learn to get good, as it were? Live
See,
chat says we learned
that's
Common Core back in the day. No, low live chat. You did not learn Common Core back in the day.
no, we
Common
did
Core
not.
was invented 6-7 years ago.
Yeah.
It
is
physically
It is an American invention. It's meant to be the easy mode. We're trying to give kids an easy mode, and it doesn't work. Why? Kids need to get good. That's what I'm saying. Timmy, it's time to grow up and put away your calculator. Learn how to do math the hard way.
Well,
It
see, the
sucks,
other thing, and
but that's
again,
what
we're
you
not
gotta
going to
do.
go into super argument because you don't like talking about these things, but I guess this is just my background. The other reason why different ways of teaching math is emphasized, and again, this is the handicap thing, people actually learn that people have mental disabilities. And again, we don't have to go to the argument if you don't want to, but like
Yeah.
this is just that's the thing. Like people, as at least as teachers, are forced to learn to teach things in different ways because people learn differently. There's handicaps, and again, Common Core exists, which is sort of a contradiction to this. So at least when I've taught kids Common Core, I've literally had to come up with unique ways of teaching something where everyone has to learn in the same way, which is obnoxious and is just, teachers get good. And that's sort of just my tangent, but like, that's just sort of
No,
why I was
I
bringing up math.
see the reason the problem with that I have with the handicap argument is because I agree with it. I I guess I don't see a person with a handicap being the same as as like the straw man average person that I'm inventing for these arguments. The second we start applying other
So basically, you're saying
smaller
the person
things,
who's
it kind
the
of ruins
person
my
who's
argument.
person who's bad at video games who has no disabilities whatsoever.
Yes, versus a kid with disabilities. I'm never going to argue that a kid with disabilities shouldn't be able to
Okay,
play the game. That's my
so
problem.
I'm gonna
I
make
can't. That ruins my
So
argument.
I have to say, all right, yeah. No, again, we can stay away from this. I'm gonna say this last point, not to win the argument, just because some people in chat, the live chat and listening to this might be thinking this. It's hard to create a gauge between e- easiest, like low difficult as possible without having difficulties, and people who have disabilities, because the amount of knowledge we have for things like this is increasing over the years. And again, I'm not trying to make an argument over this. This is just why it's really hard to design things, whether it be math or video games, around finding that low bar of low difficulty without actually having any handicaps. If that makes sense. I'm not sure I'm wording that right, but like it's just
Yeah, no.
really hard to do that fundamentally. Now,
That's
again,
yeah.
this
It's
isn't
just
your
my argument falls apart because I want everybody to play every game. I do. I really want, no matter who you are, little Timmy. I would love for you to be able to experience the joys of Dark Souls. But if you can't, I don't think not being able to beat it means it should be made easier, because you're gonna have people that. So what was the game? Resident Evil 4. How many? So did you have people that couldn't beat the game no matter what?
I don't know.
Probably.
I'm not a video game not like person.
But that's my point. Like no matter how much, no matter how much easier you make a game, you're gonna have someone that can't beat it. You want a
Oh,
great example of a game that's not that should be easy? Like Vixen had to struggle with the getting off the island in Kingdom Hearts. That has nothing to do with needing to be easier. It's just a bad game at that point.
oh, I'm not disagreeing with that.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Like
I
being
mean,
easier wouldn't. There's no way to make that any easier, really, because the
okay,
gameplay itself is
but
not
no. All
challenging.
right, so I will
You
agree
just
with
need to
you.
take it
There
out.
is no way. Okay, well, I'll 100% agree. There's no way to inherently make every like pick arbitrary game accessible for all people, ignoring handicaps. accessible for all people of skill level, but I want there to at least be some kind of effort.
See,
Yeah,
that's
this
when, for me, it comes down to the intent of the video game maker. I don't know what From Software intended for Dark Souls to be. I assume it's
see,
meant to
you
be
know what?
hard,
If you
and that's
see,
why so many people love it.
but the hard thing, I want to know why Deep Dark Souls 2 exists. Because Dark Souls 2 inherently forces the easy mode feature onto Dark Souls. So if
Yeah.
we're going to say that the intent of Dark Souls was to make the game freakishly hard, then Dark Souls 2 should not exist.
No, it's maybe Dark Souls 2 was the response to probably the large number of fans that wanted to play Dark Souls but couldn't because it was challenging. So the intent of the first game and the second game could, I'm not saying this is what it is, but it could be different. They made the second game easier so that more people could play it. And but then you go to like Sekiro, which it doesn't have an easy mode, and I don't think it should because it's like the game is based around the challenge of beating it. It's not based on the story. It's based on beating the game. Don't make the game easier so that everybody can beat it. Leave the game challenge where you want it to. If you want it to be hard, then it should be hard as the game developer. And but so that's the problem. I don't know the intentions of Sekiro either. Maybe they wanted people to experience the story. Maybe they were sad that people couldn't couldn't beat it. But I can't imagine that was the case. I imagine they made the game hard for a reason.
See, I find this argument so weird considering that you haven't beaten these games and you're going with hypotheticals of what the game developer might have wanted.
Okay, From Software, I think it's safe to assume they want their games to be challenging. There's no other way around it. All of their since Dark Souls, they've made just harder and harder games for people.
For anyone coming in confused about what the argument, I'm honestly not sure.
Whether a game should have an easy mode or not is the that's pretty much what this entire thing was about. Is whether or not a game
podcast
should have an
somehow
easy mode.
got themed.
Yeah, wow, that was cool. Sometimes you just luck into it, I guess.
Side note, if you want, we're gonna do a shameless promo here from our Patreon, where if you wish to have more podcasts like these where me and Noctis argue about a topic of your choice, shout out to the person who got us arguing about this, feel free to, join the Patreon and sign up for that lovely tier and you can make this happen.
You keep saying sign up for it, but it's not a thing yet.
Shush.
That doesn't help.
Come join us next week when it's actually live and you can sign
That
up
is
for
true.
it.
So next week we're gonna have Panda Bunny, right? Isn't that the
next
goal?
week? Yes, the next week our guest is Bun Bun. Where we're gonna have Bun Bun, and I don't know if we're gonna have anyone else with Bun Bun. We'll talk to Bun Bun about that. But we're gonna talk to Bun Bun about
I think we just proved we don't need anyone else.
All right.
You can
First
argue
of
for 2
all,
hours.
all right. I don't know about you, but I never had any illusion that we needed people to have a podcast. That's not. It's nice to have guests here because it provides variety and different types of conversation. No, we don't need people to have a podcast. Obvious, there's a reason that we're the hosts. We're the ones that the podcast needs.
Oh my
That's
God.
not an argument. That's an obvious point.
I would say it's an obvious point. If it was an obvious point, wouldn't we have done an episode by now where it's just us two talking? It seems like the point of the podcast, the intention of the podcast creators was to have us two talk to guests about their streaming experience.
That's the point, but it's not necessary to have a podcast of having guests. That's our point.
I don't know. It sounds like the podcast should have an easy mode.
I'm
Where
pretty sure the easy mode is when it's just us two. Because
this definitely was the easy mode.
I'm gonna explain to you, all right, for anyone who doesn't know what goes into having guests. First, we have to think of guests. Then we have to think of a theme. Then we have to talk to the guests, find out their schedules match. Hope the schedules match. Get PNGs from them. Make sure they actually show up. Hopefully all their audio works. Da 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 da. You know what easy mode is? When we don't have to think about any of that. Because me and Noctis don't need very much effort to talk to each other for 2 hours.
Apparently not.
So
Oh
yes,
man.
can confirm. This podcast about easy mode gives me the
Was
win
the
because
easy mode.
it's the easy mode. There
Oh
you
my
go.
oh my god. What's our timer at? I was kind of curious on that.
We are at about 1 hour and 45 minutes in. So this is a great
Okay.
time to take, live questions from the chat. Does anyone
See,
have any
yeah,
questions
yeah.
from the live
The reason
chat?
I wanted to make sure because I didn't want to start like something with you that would make us want to talk longer than 15 minutes.
Wait, are you saying that we're actually going to be allowed for me to do my actual stream after the podcast for once?
You don't stream anymore. You just do a podcast where you talk about streaming
Hey, if the
or
Patreon
math
does well
or
enough,
easy modes.
it might be worthwhile if the Patreon gets enough support. If it makes me more money than streaming.
You're a big time streamer though. We can't compete with that. Oh man, we can't compete with the thousands of fans you have. I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure if I look
this is
under
true.
your thing,
This is
thousands
true.
of fans.
The thousands of fans, if only they'd show up for the streams. You can be my fan all you want, but it doesn't do me much good if you don't show up.
It's the spirit that counts. I hit that follow button because I like you and I want you to do better. Here you go.
Funny enough, it's the
Do
people
you
who
want?
watch the streams that don't hit the follow button, because I've had that a few times. They're like, "Oh,
Yeah, that
I
happens.
I
I
just
mean, yeah,
realized I wasn't
we could,
following."
yeah, we could. Oh man, my favorite from the live chat was what's pizza? Chicago deep dish pizza or NYC pizza?
Okay, well, are we
Oh
acknowledging that
man.
one of those pizzas is a definition of pizza in this argument, or are we just trying to define pizza? Because there's two
They're
different things.
no, they're just trying to spark an
No. But
argument
yes,
that
but now,
I've had
we have
many
to talk
times.
about pizza. All right, now we have to
Okay.
actually talk about pizza. All right.
All right. Okay.
So
Okay. So you
define
first.
pizza. All right,
What's your
you
definition
want
of
me to
pizza?
define pizza? Okay.
Define pizza for me.
All right.
Take my mouth
I'm
water.
just gonna give a warning. All right, that if anyone's gonna be mad listening to this, if me and or Noctis's opinion does not agree with your own, this is the time to leave. All right, I'm gonna give 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2. Okay. So my personal definition of pizza requires pizza dough, right? Very particular type of dough. Don't anyone give me pie crust and put toppings on it and call it a pizza. No, it actually has to have pizza dough, and then you have
Okay.
to cover that in a sauce. All right. So sauceless pizza, I do not consider as pizza. I consider that bread with things on it. All right. You
Okay.
have to have a sauce, and you have to
Okay.
have a type of cheese. All right. Again, not specifying what type of cheese, and then anything beyond that, go nuts. I'll call it
All right.
disgusting,
So
but I don't care what you do beyond that.
is bagel pizza a pizza?
Is bagel pizza pizza? No. I consider that bagel pizza a bagel that's imitating a pizza in order to
No,
market
because
itself
yeah,
better.
but there's a difference between a bagel pizza and a pizza bagel. See, that's I
Wait, what's
think
a bagel pizza versus a pizza
yeah,
bagel? I
but
actually
so
need you to
because
define this.
lots of people make pizza that don't use pizza dough. I would
Yeah, see,
also
I
okay,
don't
let's
consider that pizza.
so
I
those
consider
aren't pizza.
that's
Okay. So how about a stromboli? Do you know what that is?
no. Do
It's pretty much
I'm
pizza if you roll it up into a roll.
is it still made of the same exact ingredients?
Yeah.
That's fine. That's a pizza.
Okay, so is a calzone a pizza?
Don't know what that is.
Because it's you don't know what wait, what? You don't know what calzone?
Off the top of my head?
What?
No. I don't know. I've been yelling about Dark Souls for 2 hours. Give me a break. My head
How do you
hurts.
weird. Okay, so anyway, calzone is usually it's pizza dough with sauce and cheese, and then you fold the pizza dough in half. So pretty much you got like a half moon that's like
Oh, okay.
stuffed.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like
I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
yeah.
I would if it's using those type of things, then yeah. I consider
Okay.
food
See,
ingredients.
I would agree. I would agree with you. For me,
What the
pizza
frick? All right,
is pizza
podcast
dough,
over.
a sauce, yeah, a sauce and cheese. That's what to me is required to be a pizza. That's why I never understand this argument that deep dish pizza isn't a pizza. It's obviously a pizza. It has pizza dough, it has sauce, it has cheese. Okay. So does layer order matter to you? Do you like if you put the sauce on top of the
Yeah,
cheese?
so
Does
this is
that count?
actually going to be my argument because I've actually seen people argue on what counts as the hamburger, but layer order for pizza. Yes, well, yes and no. Layer order matters in that you need to have bread, sauce, cheese. If you want to put more sauce on top of the cheese, that's your prerogative.
So wait, if you don't wait, so if you don't have the sauce in between the cheese and the pizza dough, it's no longer pizza?
I'm going to argue that it's not so much that it's no longer pizza if you have the sauce on top of the cheese. I'm just trying to think of structurally how that works.
Um it sounds like you probably don't get as much sauce as you would normally. So can you have a cheeseless pizza?
No. You can
Ooh,
call it a cheeseless pizza, but I do not call that pizza.
so wait, so vegan pizza, which doesn't feature real cheese,
I consider
isn't a
vegan
pizza?
most things, the vegan equivalent of most things, I do not believe to be that thing. I'm thinking that's just an easy
Jeez
way to
Louise,
classify
I
it.
game shame apparently a little bit. We need
No,
to
that's
stop and
not
argue
game
about that
shaming.
for
That's
10
just
minutes.
literally
Now you're
That's
pizza
just
shame. You
literally
are
name.
vegan
I
shaming,
am
good
not
sir.
vegan shaming. I'm not telling
Listen,
people not to
Timmy
eat
just
vegan
took up
pizzas.
the vegan
I'm
diet.
just not calling it a pizza.
He's new to it, and you're telling him he can't have pizza? Like, he's a little boy, tFay. Think of the little vegan boys that
You
want
want to
pizza.
argue I do not give a shit what you call it. All right, if we're gonna give it a definition, I do not consider vegan pizza as pizza. But you can call it vegan pizza. You can call it pizza. Call it a hamburger. I don't give a shit. Like, but vegan pizza and pizza are not the same thing. Now, if
see,
for whatever reason, all right, now
you know
if
what?
you're going to let's just specify here. Now, if you're gonna
Yeah.
find, I don't know if there exists one. If there is a vegan cheese and a vegan sauce, then you can make a vegan pizza that's actually a pizza. It depends on how. I guess the question is how are you making it
Yeah.
vegan? If you're
No,
removing
see here.
cheese,
Okay, what I
then
was gonna
no,
say
that's
was
not a pizza.
I'm gonna agree with your argument here that it needs a qualifier to be pizza. If you like, it's vegan pizza. It's a pizza. It's bagel pizza. It's you have to add the qualifier to make it pizza. It's not pizza in itself.
Yeah,
Okay.
I
Oh,
agree. So my
but if you're
qualifier is
also if
having
you're
is my qualifier is having
yeah,
a like pizza dough with a sauce and a cheese.
okay.
So if you're
But
gonna say
okay, so
that
if you're
the
handed a
sauce
piece
and
of
the
vegan pizza and you don't know it's vegan pizza,
no, but again, how is it vegan? Is the basically you can make a pizza vegan by removing the cheese, or you can put a vegan cheese because the live chat's saying they
yeah.
exist. If you put a vegan cheese and the sauce just happens to be vegan on your pizza dough, which I'm pretty sure is vegan, then that to me is still pizza. It just happens to be It just happens to be vegan accessible. I do not think that the what makes a pizza is things that require like are non-vegan friendly.
Okay, see that's I guess that's is okay. Let's say you're handed a piece of vegan pizza
How is it
that
vegan?
say what?
Well, again,
I mean,
well,
you're in New York, okay? You're out with friends, you're drunk, and you guys go to a place, all right? And they're like, "Don't worry, we'll order you a slice." You're
okay.
given a slice of what looks like pizza because
It has my dough, my sauce,
the
and my
dough,
cheese.
it has the dough, it has the sauce, and it has what looks like cheese.
What do you mean?
And
It
you
looks
eat
like
it, and it tastes
cheese.
like cheese. Yeah, it's
No,
not
what
cheese,
is
but
it
it
if
tastes like cheese. Does
what
that
is it
count?
if it's not cheese that looks like cheese?
Impossible cheese, like the Impossible Burger
No,
from Burger King.
no. See, is the argument on is it pizza or what I call it pizza? Because those are two different things.
Yeah, I don't know. I doesn't it like if it looks like pizza, isn't it pizza?
No,
Like what you get in the little Lunchables, aren't those little pizzas?
no. Wait.
See,
Well, that depends. Is the
that's
dough
how
made of pizza dough? I mean,
I don't
honestly,
know.
I would consider nothing in Lunchables to be real food. All right.
I thought it was cardboard personally, but I don't know for sure.
But if we're gonna make the argument, technically, if the bread in Lunchables is pizza dough, then by my definition, yes, it is pizza. I hope it isn't.
Sorry, Timmy, you're not eating pizza. Timmy's having a hard day today. You know.
Poor damn Timmy.
He just needs to get good. Get good.
Live chat question: is Lunchables real food? If all right, is candy real food? Is junk food real food? I guess is my. I think of Lunchables as a slightly less unhealthy junk food. Is how I consider the standard Lunchables.
Wait, right? Less healthy junk food?
No.
Less more healthy?
Less unhealthy. No, because
unhealthy.
People,
okay,
less
I heard.
Unhealthy. So it's still junk food. It's still bad for you, but it's not as bad.
Yeah, so it's more healthy. That's what that's.
Well, see, I'm one of those technical people who says more healthy requires it to be healthy to begin with. But sure.
Yeah, that's well. Now it's an argument of comparison.
Separate argument. Okay, separate argument. All right, but so basically my question is: if you consider junk food to be real food, then Lunchables to me is real food. If you consider junk food and snacks to be something different than real food, then I do not consider Lunchables to be real food. I'm gonna argue because
you're pissing off the Lunchable stands in the chats. I'm sure.
Well, I'm just saying because I'm not even saying because people define food differently. This is why I define pizza as pizza dough, sauce, cheese. Anything that fits that criteria to me is pizza. That's what. So that's why, like, for real, it's hard to define real food, which is why I have a hard time baselining if Lunchables is real or not.
Yeah, I thought you were just doing the Lunchables for content.
Well, I mean, I'm responding to it for content, but I honestly feel it's hard to define unless we can agree upon what counts as real food.
That's a good question.
Okay, so I guess another question for the live chat is: meat, cheese, and crackers a real meal? So, how do you define a meal? I could argue, like a meal.
You do this all the time, every time. Oh my god!
Well,
how do you define that?
Things. I don't.
You
like
need so many definitions for
yes,
stuff, man.
I don't like answering things if we are not clear about what I'm answering.
No, you is it a real meal to you? Don't question it.
But no,
is meat, cheese, and crackers a real meal?
If they say to me, then I can answer it. But if they don't say that, then that needs to be clarified.
They did say to you. Is meat, cheese, and crackers a real meal?
Oh,
they're saying that
you have
to
to
you.
Remember, no, I'm all right. I guess technically ex-teacher. All right, you cannot answer a question when they say to you versus not, because when they ask should I learn this, how I answer is not the same as whether or not they should actually do it.
No, well, we're not. Listen, Timmy is a very independent young boy. You don't have to go into teacher mode when they're in the chat.
So the live chat who says, I have no opinions. I do have opinions. I just need you to specifically ask for those opinions.
Yeah, he has opinions. They're just very, very specific. And apparently, tFay's mind is a filing cabinet. If you do not give him definitions, he cannot give you an opinion.
That's been my life. And it's pissed off.
He also can't give you a recommendation. Jesus. Oh my god.
Live chat saying the whole past is supposed to be an opinion. Find me any YouTube video where I write the description on this podcast is tFay's opinion on things. It is merely a tFay
won't stake. He's too scared to stake that flag and say definitively, this is my opinion. If you can't get good at Dark Souls, you shouldn't play it.
I literally use the word technically probably more than most words in my vocabulary when answering things.
I do feel like I've heard the word technically a lot.
Because when I've answered something, I must leave it open that it is an interpretive answer. If it is specific, then I won't say technically.
It isn't most things like a specific answer. I don't understand.
Because people don't ask. No, people in my experience, you may have different experiences, people do not know what they're asking half the time. They'll ask for one thing and they actually mean something different.
So now our chatters are idiots? A live chat, are you going to take that line down?
What did I say?
How dare
he? You're putting words in my mouth. I never
Yeah,
once said idiot.
you just
Are
said
you?
it again. I
No,
mean, wow.
I said people don't
Wow.
always know what they're asking. You're calling them idiots.
Honest to God, what you just said, like I just heard the same thing. I heard people don't know how to ask questions. To me, that sounds like you're calling them idiots.
But how do you define an idiot? For the record, I'm the one of the kind of people who calls it idiot and stupid are two different words. Many people actually say they're basically the same thing because it's like, oh, it's like dumb person. I'm like, no, no, dumb, stupid, idiot, all different things. It's like when, it's like how back in the day people would say that
Uh,
stupid and the R word are equivalent, and nowadays it's you generally can get away with saying someone's stupid, but it's very inappropriate to use the R word. It's kind of like that. I create distinction between all of these words.
now you're going for a very hurtful slur versus
No, my
a
point is
general like
back in the day, it was
yeah.
okay to say the R word, which now is a hurtful slur. And
I
back then
I
it
think
wasn't because
it was back
people.
then.
Oh no, no, no! You could. I've literally been. You could say that in front of a teacher and get away with it back in the day. Are you kidding
Yeah,
me?
yeah, yeah. No, what school did you go to?
Wyoming.
Jeez, I I was just north of you. You couldn't say that. You'd get shut down so fast.
Yeah, no,
Even
people.
like
You
even
can
in elementary school,
one
before like
hundred
in
percent.
fifth grade when I heard about it.
All right, certain words are a lot more inappropriate now than they used to be, right? You look up commercials, and I feel like this is a completely different podcast topic. But like, we need to start like pulling up old commercials for things like Pokemon and stuff, and looking how inappropriate they are, and how you
What do
cannot
you
get
mean?
away with that right now.
Like what?
Like, all right, we're gonna end with this because again, I don't want to start this over. There's literally a Pokemon advertisement, right? Where it's again not gonna go. It's I'm trying to think of how to make this remotely. It's literally a guy with his girlfriend in bed, and they are lacking in clothes, and he is choosing to ignore the girl to play Pokemon on his Game Boy. And the advertisement was talking about how fun that Pokemon is.
I am very, very confused about your point here, man.
My point
I feel
is
like you're
you could get away with things back then that you cannot get away with now is my point.
yeah, no, no shit. I'm not arguing
My point
everything
is
was
that
easier to get away with back
I
then.
preemptively define things because I don't want to say things just because it wasn't socially classified as inappropriate or appropriate. I'm going to so if I'm saying the word
Yeah, but
stupid,
your
I mean things
specifications
different.
is ruining this argument though. In my opinion.
Well, the argument should be rude because there are 2 hours and we need to wrap things up.
Yeah, wait. Actually, your point doesn't make any sense. You're telling me that advertisement wouldn't fly nowadays? Of course it would. You can
No,
watch a
it
lot more on
bull.
TV.
Well, all right, and you can find out. We discuss advertisements that are or are not allowed on a future episode of the Luna Lounge because we're not starting that right now. I hope you guys enjoyed this prompt argument of easy mode. How easy should it be?
That's our band name, Easy Mode. And you know what
For the
the
record, all right.
album
First of all,
title
all right.
was?
It
A
has to
Boy
be
Named Timmy.
E. It has to be an E and a Z. All right. We have to be cool. All right.
Oh,
Cool
okay. Yeah,
kids.
okay. You know what? You're giving me ideas. I'm thinking. I got an idea. Okay, cool.
All right, cool, cool. All right, so we're gonna wrap up this the podcast portion. Again, tune in next week. We're unveiled the Patreon for episode 10, as well as we meet our sponsor. If you've never met her before, Panda Bunny, also known as Bun Bun, also known as the Panda, also known as the Bunny, also known as our sponsor. Um, Tune in then. Thank you for our guest, Nobody. You guys were great. Um, Other like
They were lacking in opinions. I was not impressed. I
I
don't want to ever have
what
them on
they
again.
had opinions, you just were ignoring them the entire time. Little Timmy's
Then they
hiding
didn't
behind my
get good
chair
at arguing.
crying.
All right,
Well,
go argue with someone
I
else.
feel like
You suck,
I
guys.
feel like that is a completely different topic on if we should argue. And I'm not going to start that one now. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.